Thank you. Meantime, we turn our attention from the health of the markets to the economic health of our nation, as the president announced last night that he will be sending 30,000 more troops to Afghanistan for this surge, a brief surge. Let's take a listen.
Our prosperity provides a foundation for our power. It pays for our military, it underwrites our diplomacy, it taps the potential of our people and allows investment in new industry, and it will allow us to compete in this century as successfully as we did in the last. That's why our troop commitment in Afghanistan cannot be open-ended, because the nation that I'm most interested in building is our own.
All right, we're joined now for a Fox Business exclusive by Republican Congressman Ron Paul in Texas with his reaction. Congressman, thanks for joining us. What was your reaction to the speech last night?
Well, I think it's a bit misleading. I think Obama is actually preparing us for perpetual war. He's been warning us in that speech and elsewhere that we will be going into Pakistan. The idea that we're going to bring our troops home eventually, I think, is just not so. And there is no way he can pay for this. It's sort of like how you're going to pay for the medical care. Oh, yeah, we're going to save enough money and pay for it, and there will be no cost to it. And now this is going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars, and we don't have the money, and it's going to bring us down if we don't stop it. So I think it's a flawed policy, foreign policy-wise. I think it's a flawed economic policy, too, because we just can't pay for it. All wars are paid for through inflation. This will put just more pressure on the Fed to create more money, because I don't believe it would help us one bit to tax the people to pay for the war. They'll try to, but that would be devastating to the economy to put a war tax on us at this point. So in a way, they have no way out at this time unless they did change policies.
So what would you suggest, Congressman?
I'd suggest coming home. I mean, we went
Give
in
up,
there,
throw the towel in, let the Taliban take over? Let al-Qaeda reestablish itself in Afghanistan? You think that's a good idea?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea that people determine that they have self-determination. We yell and scream about the Taliban, but when we were defending, the Mujahideen, we called them freedom fighters, and we allied ourselves with them, and then we left. But when they were fighting the Soviets, it was all good. But the Taliban means that they don't want occupiers. There's a total of 100 al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. And what we're doing is we're following this precept of perpetual war for perpetual peace. And to me, it's perpetual bankruptcy. And then you wonder why the price of gold is going up. It should be self-explanatory.
Congressman, let me ask you, from what I just heard out of the last 30 seconds, do you think this is a war that's not winnable? You think we're just basically putting lives, in harm's way over the next 18 months as we have this troop surge? Or is this something that's actually a winnable war?
I think they essentially admit that. They don't expect to have a military victory. They don't even claim that. They don't even know what a military victory is. And they can't go in, and they claim they're not even in nation building. They claim that we're in there for national security to destroy al-Qaeda. But our very presence is the motivation for people to join al-Qaeda or the Taliban. They are the people who want to defend their homeland, and they're sick and tired of the West, including many countries, including us, who are in that region of the world, and we have puppet dictators, and we invade their countries, and we occupy their countries. And in the name of fighting the al-Qaeda after 9/11, we went to war in Iraq, and that never made any sense. And the people over there are not going to all of a sudden become lovers of the United States, and we inevitably will just bankrupt our country. So I would say, yes, don't stay just to save face. How many more people have to die for us to save face and say, oh, we can't surrender? This whole idea that a president has to be strong, and and yet the strength that we need is a president who finally resists the pressure by the special interests, the military-industrial complex, the bankers, and all the people who want these wars, and say no. That's what we need. We don't need somebody that will just go along with the advisor and say, oh, no, we have to leave. It's in the national security interests, and the whole world will end if we all of a sudden have a policy that defends this country instead of bankrupting this country. Actually, Osama bin Laden, his goal was to get us to do exactly what we're doing.
If I recall correctly, you were against the surge in Iraq. The surge proved successful. Right. Are you willing to admit you were wrong?
Well, I don't see any success. There's no stability, a little less killing. But how did we do it? We armed the Sunnis. The civil war is going to continue. We haven't left there. We can't leave. And if you think all our troops are going to be home next year, you're kidding yourself. That is going to last. There's still a time bomb there. There's still people who are just vying for power and to claim that we've had a major victory over there. At what expense? $1 trillion and thousands of Americans killed and tens of thousands wounded. How much do you want to pay for this nation building? Even if you argued the case that, oh yes, tomorrow's going to be perfect and we've had success, I would say you paid too much.
All right. Congressman Ron Paul, always good to hear from you. Thank you for joining us today.